So this video is from because Sarah Vowell was on TV a few days ago, and then I'd been thinking about it, and it sparked up because because basically it's a reference to Dances with Wolves and something. Uh, yeah, those goddamn Native Americans, don't they? They just screw everything up, right? When you actually talk to them and hear what they have to say, like there's a Cherokee Indian speaking about against Obama uh, on YouTube. Uh, all through I grew up during the Clinton years, and we were told about basically the noble savage theory of, well, the Indians were these great peaceful people who would never harm anything, would never harm the environment, who were just minding their own business and never did anything wrong until the evil white man came, and any conflict between the settlers, colonialists, and the uh, indigenous people, the colonialists were always to blame in every circumstance, no matter what it was, because they were the colonialists. Uh, and that we were all colonialists, never mind the fact that the colonialists were mainly Dutch, English, and French, and that people like the Irish, well, especially the Irish that got screwed over, basically being starved out of their homeland and driven over to America to work as basically slave labor and indentured servants. Um, the Poles, the Italians, who didn't come until about the uh, around the turn of the 20th century, just before Russians, Greeks, basically any of those people, or we're all considered, oh, well, they're, colonials too, or in the reverse, well, we're all immigrants. Well, no, some of us are descended from immigrants, and others are descended from colonialists and settlers. Those are two very different types of people. Uh, and yes, the colonialists, and settlers took the land, but they're also responsible for establishing the government that was here when the immigrants came, or how I guess the Mexicans now don't count as immigrant because they can claim some Native American blood, even though it was nowhere around uh, the northern areas, and that the native peoples used to roam free. Well, I am going to destroy that idea right now, that the Indians were these weak, gentle people. Sarah Vowell mentions, because she's Cherokee, that she has the old logbook of that the Cherokees wrote down all their laws, and they had laws against rape, murder, stealing horses. They had laws about slavery, which they fought on the side of the Confederacy for, and many Native Americans did fight on the side of the Confederacy for different reasons, but one of the big ones is because slavery was part of their culture. And she says the most offensive thing to her is the fact that in the 70s they would have these TV commercials where there would be trash thrown onto the side of the road, and the Indian would cry. She said Native Americans were strong, masculine people. They didn't. That's not. No. They killed each other and stole each other's territory. They had laws against this kind of stuff. They had all the flaws, all the vices and virtues that the people coming over here did. This idea that they are like children, that the Native American is like a child running free without the evils of civilization, which was actually a pretty prominent idea, and unfortunately, there are people who still believe that, and they think they are non-racist, but in fact again, this is what I call white guilt racism, where it's in fact worse than anything else because you're doing so good for these little people that you can pat on the head, which you can almost kind of see this. Well, I guess it's more. Well, I won't bring that topic up. But this idea that like when I went down to the Field Museum, and they had the exhibit on Native Americans, and I'm totally interested in Mesoamerica, the Aztecs, the Mayans, Teotihuacanes, all these people, and they really didn't want to talk about blood sacrifice or them pulling out living hearts or them sacrificing people. And they kept making, if you I'd ask them a direct question, they'd be like, well, you, and they kept talking to me like I was a kid, like they had to preface all this stuff so it wouldn't be offensive. Like you can't just deal with facts. Like there's nobody's an adult. Nobody's an adult, or heaven forbid somebody should think an idea different from them. Well, no, and then the Spanish exaggerate and this and that. And I'm thinking, I know you're lying to me. That's all propaganda. Because you can go back and read, and even you can watch stuff. I mean, again, History Channel, not reliable at all. Actually was about 15 years ago, had some things, but now it's all full of ancient aliens and crap like that. But yeah, no, they killed prisoner. I mean, the Spanish came. The reason why they could overthrow the Aztecs so easily, as the support of the Mayan people around them. They could just the the jungle people hated the Aztecs because the Aztecs conquered them. They had the Triple Alliance that was capturing prisoners and sacrificing many of them each day so the sun would rise and set. And they were ripping their beating hearts out. Well, no, it was a special thing because human blood was so sacred to them that it's like I. So now you're just excusing human sacrifice because you feel bad that you have white skin. So you're going to inject all this other bullshit onto it. It's almost as if these guilty white liberals are saying those goddamn Native Americans. What? They're screwing up us trying to the reality of their culture and civilization for thousands of years is really screwing us up how we talk and messing up the way we can present them in a good image to these bigoted whites that who wouldn't. I mean, you really have to be outside of the real world to have this idea. Uh, and there, when I had my crazy liberal friends, who I actually think still I didn't betray any of the liberal ideas they did. Um, it's just so ridiculous the crap that they would pawn off. They would see people who were uh, Native American and be irritated that they would find out they'd be like Republicans or something, and they'd be like, basically in so many words, calling them an Uncle Tom and how dare you. Not getting like the whole irony of there's some white kid that grew up and was taught these white ideas, and now they have to you know get it to the stupid native. I mean, it's the whole again the whole missionary thing. The missionary mindset is in this, and it's elitism. And it's funny because now the liberals have become the elitists. So if you've noticed, the liberal Democrats and the conservatives basically got up and switched chairs in the last 4 years. Because before, I mean, now, or at least about a year ago, protesting was dangerous, and people who would have marches and protests were loony, and dissent wasn't patriotic. It was just crazy because, well, yeah, when it's the Tea Party they say that, but when before it was like, oh, no, I mean, and then the Republicans were saying, well, no, it's our right to march and this and that, and they were all for the Tea Party, and uh, but just during the Clinton, or not the Clinton years, during the Bush years, these same people were saying the exact opposite things, and almost for the same reasons. Yeah, they had different political views, but uh, the Republicans were saying the protesters were loony and crazy, and the Democrats were all, it's patriotic to do this. I mean, just look at the Young Turks, how they basically betrayed everything that they had to say. Uh, and it's really amazing when people are like, well, somebody brought up one of my asshole liberal friends brought up what was that movie, Avatar? And I'm like, that's Dances with Wolves on an alien planet, and they're like, but it was so I'm like, there's no subtlety to that. There's no depth. I mean, it's just it's ridiculous. And the whole time, these people are the people who, if a black person gets in an elevator, they skid against the wall, or they're like, well, that. Why do you have to say it like that? Why do you have to whisper it? Why would you be like, it's okay for them to do it like that, but if they're like, well, yeah, that black ghetto guy right there who's holding it, they'd be like, oh, did you have to? I mean, or they can't describe people. Like, it was funny. Well, who was it? And I don't remember what this was. What was it? I'm trying to think of, my memory's shot. But I remember when I was working at Whole Foods, uh, it's very easy if you just say the black guy, because in Wheaton there's not that many black people, and at Whole Foods there was maybe, I think, one. I think he was the only one. But this girl couldn't. She kept trying to describe him without mentioning uh, him being black, which is the most obvious thing. She couldn't just say it because which takes a lot more effort. You're really thinking about the person's race instead of like, oh well, that's obvious. That's just what they are. She's really trying to think. I mean, because that's now an issue for her. She can't be. She's got to be multicultural. Got to do, and it was just the point where I was cracking up laughing, and everybody else was like, "Well, it was kind of good that you did that." And we're still making excuses for that kind of crap. Uh, so yeah, I think I'm gonna just label this it was goddamn Native Americans or something like that, because really that's the sentiment that many of these people with white guilt have of oh, there's inconveniencing white people because the white people are so so enlightened and have gotten past that and are in touch with their feminine side and really commune and would like to sit down with those Native Americans who were in the past who did that and got along. It's like, no, these were vibrant humans. They didn't. They were masculine people that had to fight to survive. But then again, this bullshit liberal mindset wants to make us feel bad about that because being masculine is not something to be proud of if you're a man. Just like being feminine is something you can't be proud of to be a woman. You have to, well, I have to do it, everything. I'm just a mother who sits around and has kids, and you got to be. How much do you have to hate humanity and hate yourself to just hate the natural way of things? Again, it's like the Gnostics. All right, peace to you. If anybody got offended at this video, well, you shouldn't. And, well, two, I don't make videos for stupid people. So I'm sure all the people who I'm friends with on here, even if they didn't like the video, they know what I'm saying.